Welcome to Cardinals Cover 2 with Craig Grialou and Mike Jurecki. Cardinals Cover 2 is brought to you by Arizona Cardinals Podcasts. Visit azcardinals.com/podcasts. From Cardinals headquarters, here's Craig Grialou and Mike Jurecki.
Well, this is the week, right? Josh Rosen in at quarterback, and the season begins this week, right? At least that's what we're all hoping for, right, MJ? This is the week. New quarterback, new energy, and you got Seattle in town, which is always a good rivalry.
Yeah, and you only have 16 of these, so I mean, those 3 games count, but you got to avoid losing streaks in the NFL, and you got to start stacking wins. And this team is starving, like everyone else that is winless, to get a victory, and hopefully it comes this Sunday at home.
Cardinals 0-3, the Seahawks 1-2, coming off their first win of the season, beating the Cowboys on Sunday. We'll dive into the matchup a little bit later on in the show, but let's not waste any time. Let's take off on this Football Friday, tell you what's ahead on the show today. Mike McCoy discusses David Johnson and the offense as a whole. Just how do you get number 31 more touches, if it's even possible to get him more touches? Stay tuned for that. We'll dive into Sunday's matchup, and perhaps there is a role this week for Deone Bucannon as the Cardinals linebacker. And, of course, your questions via social media as well. Hashtag Cards Cover 2. Hashtag Cards Cover 2 using the number 2. But first, the news of the day, and we'll start with the quarterback, Josh Rosen. Just how well did his first full week of practice go? Well, let's hear from the head coach, Steve Wilks, on his rookie quarterback.
Very confident. I thought he had a great week of practice, very poised, commanding, again, the offense, doing a great job of getting guys in position to be successful, starting with, protections, IDing the Mike linebacker, et cetera. Great communication across the board and putting the ball where it needs to be. I think he has a lot of poise. I've been talking about his confidence, and I think that is just, one of the things that stands out the most for me, just how he gets in there and nothing really phases him.
Those are the 2 words we kept hearing all week long, MJ, about Rosen, the confidence and the poise, whether it's in the huddle, in the film room. He does not act on the field or even off the field like a rookie that has been thrust into this spotlight. Make no mistake, this is a huge spotlight, a big stage for him on Sunday. There's only 32 around the NFL, and now he is one of the elite in the National Football League.
Yeah, and here we are entering week 4, and we got 4 rookie quarterbacks.
That's right.
Of course, Baker Mayfield making his first on the road against the Raiders, and obviously Josh Rosen coming up on Sunday against the Seahawks. I did a little straw poll over the last couple of days. I talked to offensive players, talked to defensive players, and I was hearing those same things. Now, one guy did tell me we can't put too much on his plate, but he's got the command of the huddle. He's confident. He throws a good deep ball. He's mobile. So I'm curious to see, what we see from this offense. Obviously, it all starts up front with the protection. We know that the interior has to play better because Bobby Wagner and the Seattle Seahawks front 7, they're going to try to disrupt Josh Rosen and get him off his spot. Now, one thing about Seattle, and maybe it was when they had the Legion of Boom, they don't blitz a lot. They get pressure from their front 4, and they're going to rely on Bobby Wagner. Now, news just came out that KJ Wright will not play. He's one of their better linebackers. We know that they don't have Richard Sherman. They don't have Cam Chancellor, but they still have Earl Thomas. So it'd be interesting to see how Pete Carroll and Ken Norton Jr. approach a young rookie quarterback in Josh Rosen. But on paper, they don't blitz a lot, and they rely on their front 4 getting pressure. And then hopefully for them in the secondary, if you throw a ball in tight windows, they're going to try to pick it off.
Well, maybe, and if it's not pressure, maybe it's different looks to try to confuse someone
True.
Who has never been
Excellent
in this position before.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And different exotic looks or whatever. You try to make things difficult, as difficult as possible, just to as I mentioned, just to confuse them just a little bit, and all of a sudden, getting the ball out in a second and a half becomes a second and 3/4 or 2 seconds. Now all of a sudden the defense is able to recover.
Yeah, and we could see a zone blitz where they're showing it, and all of a sudden somebody drops back in coverage, and then the coverage is coming from the other side. But it all starts up front, and then obviously you want to get David Johnson involved. If this team's going to be in this game and they're going to get a chance to win, I'm not saying he has to touch it 30 times. I know everyone out there prefers that, probably the fantasy people, but 20 to 25 touches, get him out in open space. Maybe as We've talked about, put him in the slot. It frees up Larry Fitzgerald in the open field. Christian Kirk, to me, has become the second wide receiver on this roster. Curious to see if Trent Sherfield gets any time at wide receiver. We know that Chad Williams still is trying to learn the position. He's got to come back to the ball. He does have the ability yards after catch. And then Gresham having a game under his belt, that should go a long way in the blocking game. And then we'll see something from Ricky Seals-Jones. Clearly a much better pass-catching tight end than a blocking tight end.
You mentioned the injury to Seahawks linebacker K.J. Wright. As far as the Cardinals' injuries are concerned, it sounds like all players will be available on Sunday. No one has officially been ruled out. A handful of players, though, listed as questionable. Larry Fitzgerald, Robert Kimdichie, Corey Peters, Olsen Pierre, and Andre Smith. Now, Fitzgerald, we know, will definitely play, but good to see both Peters and Smith on the practice field in a limited capacity on Friday. And of course, the Cardinals certainly would love to have a healthy Peters, especially up the middle, because this is a Seahawks team, which we'll get into, that likes to run the football and had great success against the Cowboys.
And I got to think the snap count when it comes to Marcus Golden, it's going to be up more than last week. Obviously, he's got to get into football shape, but as I maintain, I really like the rotation. They need more impact plays out of Chandler Jones. He has 2 sacks this year, playing a little bit different position. Benson Mayowa, to me, has been a pleasant surprise. He does come in with NFL experience, so I think Golden snap count will go up. He'll start to knock some of that rust off, get into football shape, and the more guys you can have that either can contain Russell Wilson or make him uncomfortable in the pocket, that can go a long way on Sunday.
A couple other items from Coach on Friday. No decision yet on a backup quarterback, Sam Bradford or Mike Lennon. That decision will come on Saturday, and then when the inactives are announced on Sunday. And also no decision on a cornerback, the number 2 cornerback position. Jamar Taylor and Bené Benwickery split reps in practice this week. According to Coach, both had great weeks or great practices this week. And even if one starts over the other, which someone has to, or depending on how they line up defensively, both of those players will be on the field at some point.
Yeah, I think we get fixated on who starts. It's one play. Yeah. Now, they need both of those guys. We've talked about Benwickery's experience in this defense. Taylor's had some penalties. He's also had difficulty sometimes on the deep ball, but they got to get more pressure up front. I anticipate Taylor will start. Don't know that official, but that's just me connecting the dots. And then we'll see Benwickery. They use a lot of 3 corners and 3 safeties, and they want to get their playmakers on the field.
Let's touch on something you brought up initially when we were starting to talk about Josh Rosen, and that is Christian Kirk. And we know what he was able to do last week against the Chicago Bears, his best season or his best game in his rookie season. But now all of a sudden you've got a new quarterback out there, and this is a quarterback, same draft class, 2 players that are very familiar with one another. They go back to their high school days and the recruiting circuit and the all-star camps, but they're also, as you've talked about a lot and cannot get overlooked, but they were roommates this offseason during OTAs and minicamp.
Yeah, I mean, Christian Kirk lives in Scottsdale. Obviously, he could have decided to go home, but he decided he was going to stay at the team hotel where the rookies stay, and he actually roomed with Josh Rosen. And to me, anytime you come in as a rookie class, and I'm talking about the undrafted free agents, they build a relationship over a period of time. And on paper, even though they only had 6 draft picks, they took 1 defensive player in Chris Campbell. He didn't make the roster. They went offense heavy, obviously. But these guys are entwined for the rest of their careers. And on paper, this is probably one of their better drafts in the last few years where you're seeing guys contribute. Not only that, but you're having a rookie quarterback starting in week 4.
And Roy Green made a comment during Tuesdays. Wow, really? Who to Roy Green?
He's not here to defend himself.
That's true. So a solid rip job on your part. But during Tuesday's Red Sea Report, he made a comment about that quarterback wide receiver relationship off the field carrying over to on the field. And of course, him as a former wide receiver, that wide receiver wants the football. And I'm not saying Christian Kirk is in the ear of Rosen saying, hey, give me the ball, look for me. But when you have that relationship, that comfortability in that guy, that trust we hear a lot about here with Coach Wilkes. When you trust someone, and yeah, even Chad Williams might be over there, Larry Fitzgerald might be over there, but to my right, Christian Kirk might be just a little bit more open, or I know he is definitely going to catch the football. I'm going to go towards his direction.
Yeah, I mean, you know how I feel. I've mentioned this, and I don't mean to be redundant, but he gets off the line of scrimmage. He gets off press coverage. I like to see him on the crossing routes. I think he showed the ability. He can catch those intermediate routes, yards after catch. So You could see why the Cardinals are excited where they found him in the second round. I know that his agent was disappointed that he wasn't a first-round pick, and what happens is between mock drafts and agents and teams, they always tell you guys, if you're there on the board and on the clock, we're going to take you. Well, they tell 40 players that. There's only 32 first-round picks. He's thrilled to be here, and obviously he's got a bright future. And, again, I remember that Friday we talked about the future. Josh Rosen to Christian Kirk. Well, we're already seeing it right now.
Well, throw in the center, Mason Cole, Chase Edmonds. Now all of a sudden you've got 4 that will be heavily involved with 3 starters on Sunday.
Do you know I have something in common with Josh Rosen?
I do not.
Okay, so I went to
I could throw. I'm just gonna let that. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, what are you gonna go ahead?
No, it's just I'm trying to think. Now I'm picturing Josh Rosen and Mike Jurecki side by side. I was like, oh, you're both tall and lean. I don't know.
He's a little bit bigger than me. He's got bigger calves. I got sticks.
You're both right-handed.
No. So I went to lunch today, and I'm coming back, and Josh Rosen's coming out of the facility. Looks like he has his playbook and everything else. Do you realize that he's got a brand new car, and he backs his car in? Now, I do that all the time, and people are like, why do you back your car in? Well, first of all, I have a new car, so my battery should not die. But if you ever want to help somebody out, at least you know, and then when you maybe getting groceries and stuff like this, so we have something in common. We both back our car in all the time.
Are you going to discuss this with him at some point to try to figure out why he does it, and then you can kind of compare?
I'm going to stay in my lane and let him play quarterback, and maybe I'll have that conversation in the offseason. But it was an observation on my part.
Pretty good one.
That's the only thing we have in common.
That's it. Nothing else. You didn't used to play quarterback when you were a kid. We established the fact on Wednesday that you played baseball.
Yeah, I can tell you this though. I used to play quarterback like Byron Leftwich. I would have that long wind up. The ball would be down here, and I would just hurl it down the field, hoping somebody would catch it.
Yeah, but the difference is when Leftwich threw it, he knew someone was going to catch
right.
it. You just hoped someone did.
And that famous play when they were carrying him down the field?
Yes. When he was at Marshall?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That was a great moment.
Yeah, you didn't have any of those moments, did you?
No.
Craig Grialou and Mike Jurecki here on Cards Cover 2. Your social media questions a little bit later on in the show here using the hashtag CardsCover2, hashtag CardsCover2. And when we dissect the Cardinals and Seahawks here, of course, everyone keeps pointing to David Johnson and the number of touches that he needs to have. So far, he hasn't had very many at all. In fact, only 44 touches between running the football and catching the football over 3 games. And to me, that number should be at least at 60 at this point, meaning an average of 20 touches a ball game. But you need to get David Johnson involved. We all understand that. But especially against this Seahawks team, which is number 30 against the run. And I don't know if we're going to see Johnson as a wide receiver as much as we're going to see Johnson just try to run and run and run against this Seahawks defense because, one, that's what Wilkes and McCoy have established, that they want to be a run-first offense, but just making sure he has the football 90% of the time if you really want to run the ball.
Yeah, let's peel the curtains back a little bit, though. This team is averaging 47 offensive plays per game. The NFL average is between 65 and 68. The defense has been on the field way too long. So it's a little misleading. Now, again, it's not like they got out to a great start last week. No. They really weren't in the game in Los Angeles, so it's hard to run the football. But they have to have more offensive plays, and that means the line has to get production on first down, so you're not facing 2nd and 9, 2nd and 10. And they got to pick up third downs, and that will also relieve the defense. So it's really a domino effect. It starts with the line. Obviously, you got to hope that Rosen's going to make smart decisions. He is a smart guy. He studies a lot of film. I don't think it's too big for him. Now, there's going to be an adjustment, and like I said, players have told me at least we don't want to put too much on his plate. But it's really it starts up front, and if these guys can get off press coverage and they can get open, he'll find the receiver because of his arm strength. So it's a combination. If we're having a conversation on Monday, and hopefully we are, 60, 65 snaps, to me that is a vast improvement. And we'll probably get a lot of credit to Josh Rosen because he's able to move the ball down the field. But that's where it really starts with the offensive line. And you can make the case with any team that's struggling to score points. And when you get in the red zone, You're going to have to score points. You can't afford field goals.
The number of plays, an item that offensive coordinator Mike McCoy discussed when he was asked about getting David Johnson more involved in this offense.
Well, I think we're looking as an offense, not just him, but for everybody to improve and have more success. I don't think it's just one player. And there's plenty of things in the game plan on a weekly basis that you're moving guys around. Sometimes you don't call those things, depending on the flow of the game. What is the situation of the game? How is the protection? And from time to time, you have certain things you might want to be doing, certain things more downfield, and then the protection might be a certain way, or you get in a flow of a game. The scores of the game sometimes dictate on what you're doing and how those things go. So we got plenty of things designed for him to get the ball. Well, I think anytime you have a player like him, you're trying to do certain things to get him the ball. And I think like I said, there's certain times during the game you call certain things. There's certain design, whether it's in the passing game, the running game, certain things that are designed to be successful, and they might not have been that way to this point in time. So, I understand the type of player he is and how we're going to use him moving forward. Well, I think that's one thing when you look at the production of certain players. You talked about David earlier, the question earlier about what we're doing, certain things. I think when you have a limited number of plays, look at this first half last week also, and until the end, there weren't a lot of plays run again. So that comes down to us as an offense, sustaining drives. But I'll tell you what, I'll take one-play drives anytime we get it like we had last week, or 5-play drive to start the game to score points. So there's a number of different things that go into that, but we as long as we improve on third down, that's going to increase the number of plays we're going to have in the game. Sustained drives, have a few more explosive plays so that you have more first down opportunities to do certain things with certain players. So as a whole, as an offense, the numbers have the production's been down, but the number of snaps have been way down also.
Now, Johnson today, when he addressed the media, was asked about his role and how different it is under Steve Wilks versus Bruce Arians, and he acknowledged it just as he has. I mean, everyone can see it on the field. But he did add this, that it was, quote, more important for him right now to run the football. And I just think maybe that as much as they want to do with Johnson, this is just me speculating here, MJ, that right now they want him to make sure that he knows what they want from a run game standpoint, and then they can start adding more wide receiver stuff. Because if it's true, and Johnson said it was a mental mistake that he made last week that made him not on the field during that 3rd and 2, if he's still learning the run game part of this, whether it's him carrying the football or blitz protection, maybe they don't want to put too much on his plate right now.
Yeah, but he's going to have to cut down those mentals there. This was happening also in 2016, and it's not like he's going out there. It's just there's a lot going on. It's a fast game now. It's demoralizing for a defense if the offense is able to line up and run the football. And again, I would love to sit here and say, let's get him, 25 carries for 150 yards. But how about 3 to 4 yards a carry? Let him break some tackles. Let the offensive lineman get to that second layer, where now a 4-yard run becomes a 12-yard run, and all of a sudden you're past midfield.
Well, that's what we saw his first 2 handoffs in the preseason.
Exactly.
He was getting 12 yards.
Yeah, and I thought Bradford did a good job finding him wide open, just like he did Ricky Seals-Jones for a touchdown. They got off to a good start. They just could not maintain it, and you got to give the Bears credit, because in the second half they really couldn't stop Khalil Mack.
Yeah, and it goes back to the number of plays that this team is running or perhaps not running, and
lack of.
It's the fact that they're not moving the chains, getting 10 yards to get first down, not converting on third down to get first down, and keep that drive, that possession going. So perhaps that changes here this week when the Cardinals host the Seahawks. It's a 1:05 kickoff from State Farm Stadium, 8:30 a.m. The pregame coverage begins. And, of course, if you want to know where to watch, listen, and follow the game, just go to azcardinals.com/game central. All the information right there, and some neat features on game day as well, including live play-by-play and updated stats. Now let's flip the page here and talk about specifically the opponent, the Seahawks. 1-2, they beat the Cowboys 24-13. Looked very, very good doing so, considering how they did not look in the first 2 weeks of the season, and Russell Wilson getting sacked 6 times in both weeks 1 and weeks 2. But it all begins with that quarterback, Russell Wilson. And how do you defend him? Well, here's Cardinals defensive coordinator Al Holcomb.
Yeah, we have to do a great job on a couple different levels. Number one, we got to do a great job of trying to cage him and keep him in the pocket, which is a challenge because we over the years, we're kind of referred to him as Houdini in a helmet. He kind of makes you miss and extends plays, things like that. So we got to do a great job with that. Whether it's four-man rush or pressure. So you have to have a plan there. And then the second part of it is on the back end. The back seven's got to be ready to plaster, what we call plaster the route, so that we got to match up man-to-man basically at that point. Whether we're in zone or man, we got to put a body on a body, and hopefully plays don't get extended.
Houdini in a helmet. I thought it was a perfect description when you're talking about Russell Wilson and his ability not only to scramble and run, but to buy time in that pocket, step up, slide left, slide right, circle, bootleg. He is still, and we haven't quite seen it all here in 2018, but he is still, at least from afar, whenever he's not playing the Cardinals, a joy to watch as a quarterback.
Yeah, the buzzword this week, plaster. Because Russell Wilson can hold the ball 5, 6, 7 seconds. You don't know if he's going to run. What his receivers are doing is they're still either running back to the ball or they're going to continue their route running. And so you have to have tight coverage because he will throw the ball over your head. Now, he'll also run, not to run to where he's going to get hurt. He'll run to slide, run out of bounds to buy himself some time.
He's learned that over the years.
Now, they're coming off a game where they ran the ball 39 times. And Pete Carroll, we had him on the conference call early in the week, and they were 10 for 16 on third down. That is a recipe for success in the National Football League. Go 10 for 16 and run the ball. Teams that run the ball 30 or more times in the game, that means time of possession, moving the chains, and then obviously picking up third downs. That is going to help you in the win category. So they didn't have that same balance. They got DJ Fluker back. They got some of their linemen back. They got a new offensive line coach. Now, we don't know about Chris Carson. He had 32 carries for over 100 yards. CJ Prosise has been injury-prone there. They got Rashad Penny, a first-round pick. They also have Mike Davis. Tyler Lockett's going to play. Doug Baldwin's going to play. He has been a weapon. He has been a Cardinal killer over the last couple of years. And then you got former Cardinal Jerron Brown. I'm not really sold on their tight ends, but you have to put a hat on those guys because it's an easy throw for Russell Wilson over the middle.
Yeah, Carson dealing with a hip injury, officially listed as questionable on Seahawks injury report heading into this Week 4 matchup. Overall, Seattle always tough. A scouting report now from Cardinals head coach Steve Wilks.
Well, I think on the offensive side of the ball, let me start there first with Russell, okay? All right, his ability to be able to extend plays. Okay, is phenomenal. They don't have the household names as they had in the past, but 32 Carson is a phenomenal back. We got to stop the run. On the defensive side of the ball, they don't have the Legion of Boom. Okay, but they still have Earl Thomas. They still have great guys on that side of the ball that cause problems. So, we can't go into this game thinking it's going to be, an easy cakewalk because these guys are tough. They're physical. They play hard. Josh got to do a great job of going through his progression. We got to do a great job of protecting him.
And we know, of course, the Seahawks' success at State Farm Stadium. We know about the Cardinals' success at CenturyLink Field. Home field advantage is not an advantage in this series, at least over the last several years. And Wilson himself, when he comes to Arizona, 6 career games, 11 touchdowns, 1 interception.
Yeah, and again, I go back to that game a couple years ago when it was Chandler Catanzaro missed that kick. The Cardinals should have won that game. The overtime game. Yeah, and they travel well, and I brought it up in the past that week. ASU was playing Washington, so their fans came down for a long week and probably played golf on Friday. So nice to see them, help our economy out a little bit. But yeah, it's weird because the Cardinals normally, since they moved to State Farm Stadium, they've had a really good home record. Usually you want to scratch out 6, 7 wins. They've already lost 2 home games. So, and then going up there, the way their crowd is and the way opposing teams get false start penalties very similar to ours. It's weird. I don't know if it's you block out the atmosphere, but you would think Cardinals will be able to hold turf at home, vice versa. But that has not been the case since Russell Wilson's been the starting quarterback. And now the Cardinals have won with backup quarterbacks, not only Carson Palmer but all Drew Stanton. So it'd be interesting to see just where we are after the first quarter, going into the second quarter. And hopefully the game is close to where the Cardinals feel like they can take some shots and then also put pressure on Wilson.
This is the Seahawks, third road game in the first 4 weeks. Of course, the schedule will even itself out. They'll close with 4 of 5 at home, including Week 17 when the Cardinals go up to CenturyLink Field. Let's get to know the enemy a little bit more here on Cards Cover 2. And with that, let's chat with Steve Raible, the longtime play-by-play voice of the Seahawks. I had a chance to catch up with Steve earlier today. Well, we certainly know what the buzz is here locally concerning this game, and that is Josh Rosen making his first career start. But what is the buzz up in Seattle concerning the Cardinals rookie quarterback? And with that, we welcome in to Cards Cover 2, Steve Raible, longtime voice, play-by-play voice of the Seahawks. And first off, Steve, welcome to the show. And second of all, do the Seahawks even care who the Cardinals quarterback is at this point?
Well, I think they do, frankly, just because it's not often that you get a rookie, 4 games into his professional career, starting against you on Sunday. It's tough enough to start as a rookie at any position. It's tough enough to make a football team, but to start as a rookie quarterback in this league. Now, we've seen some successes early on here, but over time, how does that go? Not everybody's going to be, Jared Goff looked terrible his rookie season, and it took him a season or two to get into the swing. So I think the Seahawks will prepare for whomever is going to be the quarterback. They're looking at film on the Arizona Cardinals, and as I was talking to players the last couple of days, even more so, they're looking at coordinators' tendencies, coaches' tendencies. What do they do? Because this is a new coaching staff. This is a new group than they saw a season ago or the last few seasons with Arizona. So they're more interested in knowing what Steve Wilks and his coordinators really want to do.
When we look at the Seahawks, and let's turn to their offense, and of course Russell Wilson, he looked a lot better last week in the win over the Cowboys, and I guess it starts with protection. He did not have much of any protection as far as the offensive line, getting sacked 12 times in those first 2 weeks. What has changed to allow him and the offense to have success as they did against the Cowboys?
I think without question, Russell will always look better as a quarterback when his running game looks good. And the running game, while not wildly successful, Chris Carson gets 100 yards. He runs the ball. He carries the ball 32 times, 39 times overall. That's kind of the blueprint for success for a Pete Carroll coach team. A couple of seasons ago, Doug Baldwin caught 14 touchdown passes. He had a whale of a season. Russell, in a 5-game period, was just unconscious the way he threw the ball. And we won a lot of those games. Still, it wasn't the blueprint for Pete Carroll. It wasn't the way he's won games in the past and what made this team successful and a Super Bowl champ. It is running the football, which opens up the passing game in play action purposes, and also opens the game up a little more for kind of the strikes downfield, which is what I think was successful for us against the Cowboys. We ran and pounded the ball, and after a while those safeties start to come up, and then you throw in behind them, and we had a couple of touchdown passes because of that. What makes Russell better as a quarterback is when his running game works. And, quite frankly, it makes the protection better, because the offensive line can fire off, hit people, open holes for the run, and now you kind of slow down that pass rush just a little bit when you can run the ball.
You mentioned the Doug Baldwin. I heard Pete Carroll this morning mention that he is, quote, ready to go. What will he mean, his return to the lineup mean for the Seahawks offensively?
As an old wide receiver, I take to heart that Doug wants to play in the worst way. He's one of the most competitive people I think I've ever met, both on and off the field. All you have to do is see what all he does in the community and for social justice in this community, and he's an amazing human being. That said, I would sure like to be absolutely certain that knee is okay. He wants to get back and play, and back in the day when your job depended on it, that if you weren't out there on the field, you could, quite frankly, they'd get rid of you. And Doug Baldwin is not in that category. He is a star on this team, and he is a member of this team that they absolutely need. I just hope that his knee is as sound as he says it is, and the coaches believe it is. Otherwise, why not take another week just to make sure? But if he's ready to go, all he will do is add to this team. He's the best one-on-one pass receiver we have. If there's anybody that can get separation in third downs, it's Doug Baldwin. And quite frankly, runs past people more than many observers would believe, that he's got more speed than a lot of people give him credit for. So I hope he's ready to play. If he is, let's get him on the field.
Longtime play-by-play voice of the Seahawks, Steve Raible, joining us here on Cards Cover 2. Let's switch over to the defense, and we here have been listing off the number of names no longer on the Seahawks defense. The Legion of Boom, no longer the Legion of Boom, but it's still a capable defense, and anytime Earl Thomas is picking off the quarterback, it's still maybe not as aggressive, but it's certainly from afar, it's still a quality defense.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think getting better all the time and getting healthier. Now, we've got a couple of guys who may be down this week. Deion Jordan may not be able to play, and he's proven to be a pretty good pass rusher and was getting better. Rasheem Green, not sure, the rookie out of USC. He has really played well early in the going here, especially as a pass rusher. But when you have Bobby Wagner back in the middle of your defense making those calls, when we get K.J. Wright back, and he's still out, he's another Pro Bowl linebacker, with Frank Clark anchoring one defensive end and his ability to put pressure on the quarterback, and then Earl in the back end, getting the secondary set up, and kind of an unsung hero in this defense through the first 3 games, and that's Bradley McDougald. He has played outstanding football, a couple of interceptions, could have had a couple of more, and is as sure a tackler as there is on the defense, and it just never seems to be out of position. So the defense is really playing pretty well with a lot of young, a lot of new faces. I think the chemistry on that team on that group, that side of the ball is good. And as Bobby said, the only real question is that communication. Can all these young guys understand what we're trying to tell them in shorthand during the course of the game? Because when you're at home here at CenturyLink Field, it gets noisy when the defense is on the field. So communication is the biggest key for the defense. But hey, those guys will run and hit, and they are aggressive, and it's fun to watch them.
Last question, and we certainly appreciate your time here on a Friday. The rivalry here, it's an interesting rivalry because of the success that everyone has had on the other's home field. The Cardinals have not won against the Seahawks at State Farm Stadium since 2012. What do you make of the success that these teams have had on the road?
Yeah, that's really interesting. I don't know that I've seen that with any other opponent that we have, quite frankly. And I just, between you and me, I just wish we could win those games up here. They tend to come late in the season when the Cards come up here to play us, and invariably there's always something hanging in the balance, and we have not played well up here at all, giving up some big plays at the end of the game. That just seems to be the way it is. I'm very happy that Jerron Brown is on our team now because he has caught touchdown passes against us for the Cardinals during his career down there. But I don't know what it is. We just seem to play pretty well down there. Part of it might be that you just, when you go on the road, you have to kind of let it go. You have to play, if not above yourself, you certainly have to play at the peak and not worry about the consequences. Just get out there and make plays because you don't have the crowd backing you up. We have had pretty good support down in the desert. You see a lot of the green and blue jerseys down there of the Seahawks fans, and I'm hoping that's going to be the case Sunday. And if it is, we stand a chance of continuing this run of winning on the road. Now, as I said, I just hope we can win up here later on this season.
Yeah, the Cardinals go up to Seattle Week 17 on December 30th. Steve, we appreciate it. Safe travels, and we'll talk to you on Sunday.
Guys, my pleasure. Thank you.
One other storyline here as we bring back here to Cards Cover 2, Craig Grialou and Mike Jurecki, and that is defending Russell Wilson, and something that you have pointed to here not only on the show but off air as well when we've had a chance to talk, MJ, and that is a spy on Russell Wilson. And what if I were to tell you that perhaps, and I know people have made a big deal about Damon Buchanan not being on the field and Hassan Reddick not being on the field, that perhaps maybe their roles are increased this week, not anything specifically, but just because of who the quarterback is, and you've got more athleticism between those two than, no offense to a Josh Bynes or a Gerald Hodges, but let's be honest, there's a difference as far as moving sideline to sideline amongst those 4 players.
Yeah, I mean, you want to get an athletic guy in there, and now we'll see whether it's 10 snaps, 15 snaps, much better than just 1 snap, but I agree with you, and different coaches have different, outlooks and personnel. But under James Betcher and Todd Bowles, I mean, he was a spy on Russell Wilson. And you can't do it every down because they'll pick up on it and you're taking a guy out of coverage. But maybe in 3rd and long. And Budda Baker's done a really good job playing in the box. He's going to be on the slot receiver. Ben Wickery's probably going to be, if they go 3 wide, along with Taylor and then Patrick Peterson. Then you got your safeties in Bethea and Boston along with Baker. So it'd be interesting to see how they defend that, but I don't think you can do it every down, but maybe you got to pick your spots, and that may be for a guy like Reddick or Buchanan to get back on the field. Again, I don't think they're going to fill up the stat sheet when it comes to snaps, but maybe if you can just keep him in the pocket, again, he can extend plays with his legs. So that's something I'm going to be looking for early in the game if he's facing 3rd and long, and that could be good news for the Cardinals to get him off the field.
Buchanan played every snap in week 1, just 25 in week 2, and had only 1 snap last week against the Bears. He's handled this reduced role very well, addressed the media on Wednesday. We had Kyle Odegaard in here on Wednesday talking about that, and you can read more on azcardinals.com. Then on Thursday, we heard from Al Holcomb, and the question was asked point blank, why can't Dayon Buchanan get on the field here in 2018?
Well, it's a new system. He's learning the system. There's an element of technique that goes into playing the position in this system, and he's working on it every day. He's getting better. He wants to do it. He's trying to do it, and we want him to be able to get on the field and do those things for us. He's a dynamic player, athlete. We know that, but at the same time, within our structure of our defense, there's a certain amount of discipline that has to occur. And again, go back to when I first spoke to you guys back during the preseason. We talk about gap integrity, okay, and gap discipline. All of those things. It's you got to do your 1/11th, and you got to be responsible for your gap, for your assignment. And he's like I said, continually trying to improve on the things that we're asking him to do.
Now, the Cardinals are playing a lot of 4-2-5. I know we get fixated on 4-3, 3-4. They're playing a 4-2-5 because teams are going 3 wide, and that's where you bring in your playmakers. And whether it's 3 corners and 3 safeties, that's why they haven't been able to find a spot. So it's nothing personal. I mean, hopefully he gets a chance to go out there, and whether it's limited snaps or not. Now, he is playing about 20 snaps on special teams, and if you get a chance, if you're going to the game, because I know on TV they only follow the football, watch the way he goes down there. He's not lacking energy. He's not lacking effort. It's just a matter of it's between the ears, and sometimes it's more mental than physical. We know he's a physical player. I agree with you. It's a good observation on your part. In talking to Kyle yesterday, he's handled this with class, and he knows it's a team game, and he wants to see this team win because everyone's happy at that point. So hopefully he gets some more reps, but I think it's a work in progress.
Whether you're at the game connected to stadium Wi-Fi on your phone or watching the game at home from your couch, be sure to check out azcardinals.com/GameCentral. You can follow the official game blog with live play-by-play updates and commentary from your favorite Cardinal insiders. Also, stats, video highlights, and all the pregame and postgame content related to this week's matchup against the Seahawks. Again, that's azcardinals.com/Game Central. We still need to open up the Big Red Vault and hear the Bird Gang sound off, but that's straight ahead. But first, it is a Friday. It is a #Fitz Friday. Larry Fitzgerald addresses the media every Thursday, and well, let's hear from number 11. He's he's now in his 15th season, and if he catches a pass on Sunday, it'll be his 19th different quarterback in which he's caught a pass from. Fitz talking Josh Rosen.
I'm excited for him. I mean, he's worked his entire life to put himself in this position, and to be able to see him be able to realize his dream of being a starting quarterback in the National Football League is exciting. I mean, like I said after the game, I feel like it was just a few years ago that I was doing the same thing, just living my dream. Obviously, he's got a lot, more riding on it. Being a quarterback of a franchise is much different than being a receiver, but I just want to go out there and try to make as many plays for him as possible. And I know the group and other skill position players feel the same way. He's going to go out there and give it his all, and we got to be there to support him every way. I mean, he's played at an extremely high level, and every single level he's played at. And, so there's no reason for him to be unconfident. Telling him, throw it here, that's not helping him at all. Let him go ahead and go through his progressions, and when he does look your way, you just make the play for him. We have a lot at stake. We, got a new quarterback. We have most importantly, we got our pride on the line. You don't want to lose to anybody. It doesn't matter what decals they have on the helmet. You want to go out there and perform, especially at home. We lost 2 games at home, which is not something that happens here, too often in our stadiums. There's one receiver in the history of the game that's got more yards and more catches than me. I don't need any more yards or catches. The only reason I'm here is to win. I just want to be a successful team.
Yeah, and that's really important for Larry Fitzgerald. He's got all the numbers and records, and he's going to the Hall of Fame. He'll be a first-ballot Hall of Famer.
And that was in relationship to the question about the number of targets,
Sure.
and he only had 2 against the Bears.
Now, one thing we didn't see with Bradford, and I think it's going to be a vast improvement, is play action. As a matter of fact, I was looking at his stat, and the Cardinals only had 10 play-action plays. Now, we know that the numbers are down when it comes to total plays. You're going to see a lot of play action from Josh Rosen, where you could see some RPOs, read, run-pass option. He could roll out. We talked about cutting the field in half. So the offense will look a little bit different because you got a mobile quarterback who has the ability to throw it on the field. And, again, when it comes to Fitz, if David Johnson's in the slot, you maybe move Larry outside. You can move Christian Kirk outside, possibly Chad Williams. So there's going to be opportunities, but I think you're going to see a big difference when it comes to play action. I think one of the better quarterbacks doing that in the league is not only Aaron Rodgers, but also Russell Wilson.
By the way, Fitz did say he was, quote, feeling better regarding his injured hamstring that has limited him in practice this week. All right, time to once again open the Big Red Vault. Today we flash back to 2009, a home game against the Seahawks, and more importantly, a major milestone accomplished by then quarterback Kurt Warner.
3rd and 4 at the 18-yard line of Seattle with 6:20 to go in the 4th. Cardinals lead by 4. Snap to Warner. Back to throw. Fires. Left side for Fitzgerald. He caught it at the 5. He dives. He's in. Touchdown, Arizona. Career touchdown number 200 for Kurt Warner. And a huge one to make it a 2-possession game.
Final score back in 2009, 31-20. The Cardinals beat the Seahawks in Week 10. By the way, Warner and Fitzgerald combined for 39 touchdown passes when those two were on the field together. As we continue here on Cards Cover 2, Craig Grialou and Mike Jurecki. We do it every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 3 p.m. here from the Cardinals facility in Tempe. And on Fridays, we are graced with the presence, Brandon Natus, the Cardinals social media what are you, manager, director, or president, vice president? What's the official title? Or would you just give you one?
I just hope my access code works.
Oh, okay, there you go. That's true.
I thought he was going to come in here and tell us who the 19 quarterbacks are.
I have them written
down.
down.
That wouldn't be fair. That would not be fair because...
Do you want it written down?
No.
Cardinals Media Relations does a great job with game notes, and I can just read it right here. What's it, page 13?
No, I'm not going to put him on the spot because you look at the list, and I think the 3 guys that really stick out, obviously Josh McCown, Carson Palmer, and Kurt Warner. Yes. Now, I'm a big Rich Bartell fan. Some other guys had an opportunity, but those 3 guys, and Josh threw his first pass to Larry on a flea flicker in St. Louis. Carson Palmer, when healthy, he throws a really good deep ball. And then Kurt Warner was able to take this team to the Super Bowl. So I'm going to let you off the hook today.
I appreciate it,
We'll give you something to work towards, some homework for next week.
I'll study up. What I'd really like is I know Wednesdays Kyle does like a film room.
Yeah.
I really want him to do a film room on Mike's throwing motion. Like, can we set that up?
Byron Leftwich. I'll go out
if
there
we
and
can do a
it.
split screen, Leftwich back in either the Marshall days or Jacksonville, and then MJ throwing.
Will you go out for a pass?
I'll go out for a pass, and then can we have like Ohms carry you, kind of like he was like in the Marshall days?
Sure. Now that would be a picture. That would be. I
like
stunning.
that. I like the way you're thinking.
We'll get some retweets. All right.
All right, what's the Bird Gang sounding off on here on this Friday?
Well, there's 2 people who you're not going to be shocked that there's questions about. So Cardinals 31, this from Twitter. Cardinals 30 wants to know, how many yards do you think Josh Rosen, haven't really talked about him this week, throws for against Seahawks? And do you expect to see David Johnson utilized more in both rushing and passing attacks?
The David Johnson storyline is just, it's mind-boggling to me that we're still talking about it. But I've come to the conclusion that this season, 2018, is, as much as we want to see David Johnson as a wide receiver, we're just not going to see it this season. I hope I'm proven wrong otherwise. But
last week he caught a touchdown pass.
Yes, but I'm talking about consistently, like we've seen it in the years previous.
I still think he's going to be involved in the passing.
As far as Josh Rosen, I'll go over 200 yards passing, which would be a season high for the Cardinals quarterbacks this year. But because I think, as we talked about, there's an emphasis on sustaining drives. There's going to be more plays that this Cardinals offense will run.
All right, I was going to say 250, but I'll take the over of 200 yards.
Oh, wow. That's good. What about you want to do touchdowns? I know that was not one of the things. You want to do touchdowns, or is that?
I just want to see
say
him
2
score
touchdowns. Over under 2 touchdowns.
I don't care if they get a pick six. I don't care if David Johnson gets 5. I just want to see touchdowns.
Take a win over anything else.
That's right.
So Brennan wants to know, what will it take for the Cardinals to get back to winning? What do you think this team needs to do? A little bit more energy this week with Josh. What do you think they need to do to get the win?
I just think it's having all 11 guys, whether it's offense, defense, special teams, knowing what their role is and what their job is, and just execute what the coaches have told them to do.
I know it's not going to be a great answer, but execution. It all starts up front on both sides of the ball. The game's won in the trenches. You know, they got to get some rhythm on offense. They got to force some turnovers, contain Russell Wilson, try to shut that run game down. But ultimately, it's about execution, winning one-on-one matchups.
You just mentioned the trenches there. That will take us over to Instagram, where I'll do my best Key and Peele impersonation, but Aaron408 wants to know thoughts on the O-line.
I think they've been a little inconsistent, but again, you need to have rhythm on offense, and they're hoping that Josh Rosen can bring a spark. You got to look at the interior line. They're going to have their work cut out with Bobby Wagner, and you start looking at some of their front four. I just think this team needs to have a little bit of rhythm, go on a nice long drive, punching in at the end, and then it will still confidence. I don't care what you do in life, confidence goes a long way. I just think execution clearly, but if you get a little confidence, I think this team can get in rhythm, and maybe we'll see a different Cardinal offense come Sunday.
You think same thing?
Yeah, if you can sustain a rushing attack against this Seahawks defense, then I think everyone else will feed off of that.
Okay, so the next thing wants to know, will we see Josh Rosen more in shotgun or under center?
If I had a guess, go ahead.
I think initially might be shotgun, just because he's more comfortable in that role. He is going to have to go under center. You can't consistently, but I think also, I know it would maybe signal to the defense that you're more likely to throw the ball out of the shotgun, but it would give him some more time to look at the defense from a few yards back as opposed to under center.
If you have a fullback in the game, probably under center, but because of the run-pass option, the RPO, he has the ability to either give the ball to the running back in his belly, take it out, make a throw, or run. So I would think he'd be in the gun, and plus you want to see the entire field. His shoulders should be square to the field so he can see the entire field. Now, if you want to cut it down, he's a much better thrower to his right side. So depending on how they're able to run the football with the fullback in there, and Derek Coleman's been a really good special teams player. He only gets about 5 to 6 snaps on offense. Maybe you have Ricky Seals-Jones or Jermaine Gresham. So if they have 2 guys in the backfield, I would think he'll be under center. But for the most part, I think he'll be in the shotgun, and he has the opportunity to run or pass the ball, and that's what we're going to see from this different Cardinal offense.
Now we have 2 more questions for you. So Chad Williams had his first catch of the season when Josh got in the game, and Josh also targeted him on a deep pass. Will Chad Williams be a threat this week? And that's from Robles era.
Well, he's certainly right now behind Fitzgerald and Christian Kirk. I mean, Coach Wilkes made that clear that Kirk separated himself in that wide receiver room. So at this point, you got to make yourself be an available target. And sometimes I think Williams needs to do a little bit more separating himself from the defender so the quarterback has someone to throw to.
I think if he does a better job coming back to the ball. I mean, when Bradford was in there, he's anticipating you making your cut, and the ball's going to be there. Rosen has the stronger arm where the ball could be there a little bit quicker. You got to help the quarterback out at times. Come back to the football. And we watched last year when they run that jet sweep with him. He does have speed. I think, again, confidence, but he's got to do a better job coming back to the ball and then yards after catch.
The other name you might see more on the field, or at least more targets, is J.J. Nelson, especially if you want to extend that defense just a little bit.
That's an interesting point there. And then the last one, I know we look specifically ahead to this week, but this one be more for the future. Jacob Rojo wants to know, do you think the 49ers without Jimmy G will be a challenge?
I mean, it's the NFL. They feel comfortable with C.J. Beathard. I know he's not making $37 million this year. Kyle Shanahan's a really good play caller. I just don't think they have the weapons on the outside. Pierre Garçon is still a quality receiver, but he's getting up there in age. Marquise Goodwin is a guy that can stretch the field, but they lost their top running back. I still think they're a year away. But again, it's the NFL. We watched what Buffalo did last week in Minnesota. You got to show up and play football. And again, the Cardinals have to take care of business at home. And we'll see what happens when they go to San Francisco.
Yeah, that comes up after the Seattle game. So I'd be interested to see how the Niners respond this weekend with a full game without Jimmy G.
That's all we got for you.
Good stuff, Brandon.
Appreciate that. And before we head on out of here, let's reset and take a look at the injury report officially as far as who is up and who is down. And right now, the Cardinals list no one as officially out. But certainly the Arizona Cardinals do have a couple of names on there as questionable, but good to see that Corey Peters returned to the practice field as well as Andre Smith. Now, speaking of Smith, now you got a question mark at right tackle because John Wetzel has gotten the start the last couple of weeks, and if the Cardinals on offense need to figure out what they want to do at right tackle, do they go with Wetzel, which I think they will just because Smith, you're out on Wednesday and Thursday and limited on Friday. To me, it might be too much of a roll of a dice to get Smith back in there as a starter.
Now, again, as a collective unit, they definitely have to play better. I think Wetzel has filled in just as well as Andre Smith if he was in there. So I don't think there's a drop-off there. But, again, I do anticipate them getting them help, whether it's Gresham in there, Gabe Holmes, Ricky Seals-Jones, Derek Coleman. So I think they're going to get the right side some help, and I think DJ Humphries is going to have to protect Josh Rosen's blind side.
Cardinals and Seahawks, 1:05 is the kickoff from State Farm Stadium. That means an 8:30 pregame coverage on the Arizona Cardinals radio network, and all the information can be found on azcardinals.com/Game Central, and then we'll talk about it on Monday here with you on Cards Covered 2. Special thanks to those behind the scenes, Tim Delaney, Jim Alejandro, Devin Henry, Jeremy Schnell, plus Grant Greeley, Jonathan Hayward, Jesse Aranda, and Jackson Sipes. For Brandon Natus, Mike Jurecki, I'm Craig Grialou. As we leave you on this Football Friday, time to get you hyped for Week 4. Cardinals and Seahawks, the latest edition in this NFC West rivalry, and the starts of the Josh Rosen era.
The Arizona Cardinals select
Disappointment can open the door to hope.
Josh Rosen, quarterback.
Our hope comes in the form of raw talent, intelligence, and confidence. Perhaps nothing can inspire hope on a football team more than a quarterback. Sunday is the beginning of a new era, one we hope lasts for seasons to come. Josh Rosen, Arizona Cardinals starting quarterback. Sounds just about right. Seahawks, Cardinals, Game 4 of the 2018 season. Sunday.